For 18 years before the formation of this community, this one spent more than 2,000 hours listening to Abraham channeled by Esther Hicks. And yet, questions remained. Then he created a more accessible source of answers through us, and thus began at a much more fundamental level what felt to him like an explosion of understanding of who he was and why he was here. From that came this definition of the law of attraction. You attract into your experience, moment by moment, unique to you, your own virtual reality. And the versions of everything and everyone in that virtual reality are a match to the sum of your conscious and subconscious chosen beliefs and expectations. By law of attraction, there is nothing you cannot be, do, or have. So you can have your world be any way you want it to be. And so, by the way, can everybody else. And many of them want a very different world than you do. So if you all exist together in one shared world, the law of attraction makes no sense at all. And many questions about the nature of things cannot be satisfactorily answered. We're going to do something a little different today and show you clearly what we mean by that. We're going to show you on a whole new level, a more fundamental way of answering those questions. This week, this one was listening to some audio from the recent Hay House World Summit, featuring many of the well-known gurus of spiritual enlightenment. In one of those, Reed Tracy, president of Hay House, interviewed Esther Hicks, and through Esther, Abraham. Reed spoke of a young boy recently killed in a school shooting who seemed to have had a premonition about what was going to happen that day at school. And Reed's question to Abraham was, can people know what's going to happen before it happens? In answering, Abraham spoke about that shooting incident and also used the example of Jerry Hicks' recent transition, in part as follows. Esther is certain that Jerry did not know that he had a physical condition that was going to be the avenue through which he made his very fast transition. He always said he wanted to be happy, healthy, happy, healthy, happy, healthy, dead. And it was pretty much like that, healthy all of his life, and then a few months of transition. And so Esther is certain that he did not know. And yet there were so many things that he was doing in preparation for that, that after it happened, she understood that on some level, that's the way she words it, on some level, she knows he knew. Now, if she had known that he knew and had confronted him about it, he very likely would not have said anything. Before any question like Reed's can be answered, you have to decide from whose perspective you're asking it. Let's start with Jerry's perspective. From the answer above, you might get the impression that something external to Jerry had decided it was time for him to go. But Abraham on many occasions has said that each of you makes your own decisions about transitioning. And of course that is correct. So at some level, Jerry decided. The next question therefore becomes, is it not possible to know what decisions you have made at all levels? As we have said many times, yes, it is. You can surface any part of that subconscious expectation fabric into conscious awareness. Firstly, look around you. Everything you're experiencing in every realm is an exact match to the belief choices you have made. Secondly, you can go within. If you want to know what you are now creating on any particular subject, ask yourself quietly, without fear and without judgment, what you really, truly expect to happen in relation to that subject. Of course, if you choose to believe you cannot know, you'll be right. Because each belief choice comes with its own life support system, and your world will conform as always. But we say you can know. And if the answer does not feel good, then change the belief that sits beneath it and choose to expect something different. Now let's look at the question from Esther's perspective. The answers are the same. Can it be that Jerry or some entity can assert things into Esther's experience to which she is not a vibrational match? And the answer to that, of course, is no. So at some level, Esther decided, not perhaps that now was the time for Jerry's transition, but that there was a possibility of that. And then what showed up was a match to her at that time. Esther used words like "not now" and said that she held Jerry as invincible. But in this, as in all things, the law of attraction is absolute. Now let's look at the question from Reed's perspective. If he had asked for a prediction of his future, the Abraham response would have been, as always, "We cannot tell you that because you are in charge of that. You are free to make a new choice in the next second and the next second. All possibilities exist. You will choose which version of you to inhabit, and your world will always be a match to that version of you." But what he asked was, can people know what's going to happen before it happens? The question was really not answered, because the only answer possible is, you tell us. Reed, like all of us, creates his own personal virtual reality, and he alone can answer that question. Now we get to the important perspective, yours. Are you asking yourself how it is that your gurus can be fallible? We could say that, of course, all channeling is a collaboration between the channeler and the channeled entity. It is always going to be colored by the beliefs and expectations of both parties. Back at the formation of this club, Nina, the first conduit to us, began pushing at this one numerous websites of people channeling. The stories were often incredibly complex and contradictory, yet they all seemed genuine. This one asked us, how can this be? And we explained once again that by law of attraction, everyone creates worlds that match their chosen beliefs, physical and non-physical. So then the particular mission of this community became to get to what lies beneath, what is absolute and independent of any chosen story. And that continues to be our intent here. As to what to believe, simply choose always that which feels good, ignore the rest. But here's the important concept we want you to understand. We need to step back from stories about channels and their biases and once again say, you tell us, because everything in your particular personal virtual reality is yours to choose. So the particular versions of Esther and Jerry, and in fact Abraham, and this one, and us, and Rachel and Mary Beth that you experience will be a match to you, because it is you who is writing the screenplay for this movie of yours. Therefore, you will not much hear us making general statements about the world, for example, this is the time of awakening, when more people will live in joy. You might find it inspiring to hear those words, but there's a downside. They carry within them a reinforcement of the idea that you are not the sole creator of your reality, that there's a shared world out there that is somehow shaped by collective decision. But there is no shared world. There is only your world. Nobody can, no entity can, and we cannot speak for your world. We could say instead that if you have a particular vision for the world that feels good to you, that perhaps there's a completely different sort of education system where everybody believes as much in the law of attraction as in the law of gravity, where more and more people are living in the joyful realization of the power within them. Then choose to inhabit that version. Choose to expect nothing less. And that is the glorious version of reality you will thereby step into. We would say that there is indeed nothing you cannot be, do, or have, and there's nothing you cannot change. We say choose always to live from within the highly personal question, what do I want now? At the end of that interview came these Abraham words. You come out of eagerness to be deliberate creators, to explore the contrast, to discover what you personally prefer, to discover your own power of flowing the energy, to hook into this energy that creates worlds, to let the energy that creates worlds to flow through your fingertips towards your creative endeavors, to uplift others, to find more contrast, to launch more rockets, to recognize that you're not yet in alignment, to have the thrill of coming into alignment, and yes, to experience the manifestation of your desire. But it is the journey to those manifestations that rings your bells. It's about the journey, you see. To which we say, Amen. This is the Abraham that inspired this one to listen in for thousands of hours. This is the Abraham that put him on the path to where he is now. This was to him the first storyless version of the truth of it all. And he is deeply appreciative of the phenomenal teachings they have brought forth and continue to bring forth. Over time, he and those of you in this community have cautiously begun to move out of the shadow of those teachings to be a new voice with new clarity. We are enjoying ourselves more than words can say as we join you in this adventure. And now we move to our longer discussion and your questions.